Here you are, hopefully practicing what I preach and planning out your run schedule so you get the most of your training. But you're trying to figure out what's the best time of day to actually go run. If you haven't been with me here on the channel before, I'm Jesse Funk. This is a show I like to call Runner's High, where we talk everything running, from food to training to silly side rants, anything I can think of that you want to know about, I cover here on the channel Tuesdays and Thursdays every single week. Now, talking about when is the best time of day to run, we have to decide what's our parameter, right? What makes it best? Now, I'm being a little nitpicky, of course, but you have to decide what makes it best for you. Is it simply a matter of timing, or are you looking for the best physical performance? We'll talk about a few different ways to kind of quantify it here, but know that there is no one single best time of day for most people, because you and I both have work schedules. We have to coordinate around those. Maybe you're in school and you have to go to school before you can work out, and your coach maybe has early morning practice or late afternoon after school gets out. Whatever the case is, there are other things in our lives that we have to fit in around running, or running around them, however you want to look at it, which means that we can't always perfectly time the physical aspects of running to our schedule. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the different times of day and the pros and cons for each of them. Now, if we want to talk mid-morning, we're just splitting hairs a little bit, but let's say like 9 to 10 in the morning after most of you are at work. This is often when I get my workouts in. I pretty much wake up and am on the computer working almost immediately, anywhere between 6 and 7 in the morning, and I get a couple hours work in. Then I go work out. This is a little bit better time because, at least for me, I have an opportunity to eat something. I can begin digesting food for the day. I can get some water in, a little bit of hydration after I've been sleeping all night. Lung function is starting to improve. Body temperature is starting to rise. I apparently can't talk because I've already expended all my energy with my workout for today. And these things are kind of increasing. So mid-morning is getting better, but when we're talking about optimal time physically, we really are talking about early to late afternoon, or so like early afternoon to early evening, sometime in that time slot. This is when physiological functions peak. Body temperature is going to be the highest, which means muscles are going to be the most useful, the most supple, the most mobile, meaning we can have a better performance. We have eaten stuff and digested plenty, so we've restored any kind of glycogen that may have been a little low, top that off basically. We also end up with what is often the warmer part of the day. So especially as I'm filming, it's winter time. If you end up with cold, and it's cold, dark, lonely in the morning, that's obviously not great psychologically. But mid-afternoon, you can end up with a very, very nice temperature for most of the year. Summer aside, because it can get scorching that time of day. But early afternoon to early evening has the most physiological benefits and some of the psychological benefits from waiting to do it throughout the day without getting dragged down later on. Now, the problem with this kind of time slot is that you're probably working, right? Your boss isn't just going to let you off to go. So a lot of people do this over the lunch hour, get it in then. That's going to work for shorter runs, but if, like me, you have a day or a couple days where you have a longer run and it takes a considerable amount of time, well, that's probably not going to be a great option for you. But if you're doing a shorter run, it's only going to be maybe a half hour, then over the lunch hour, it may be a good time, because then it gives you an opportunity to go, get it in, get some lunch, come back to work, have it out of the way before you get into the evening where things kind of start to pile up. Early evening, as we move into late evening and night, kind of is a transitional period where a lot of the benefits of that early afternoon, physiologically speaking, are still present. But if you run too late into the evening, you can actually potentially hamper your sleep, and that ends up putting you into a whole cycle of maladaptation, which means that you don't sleep well, then you don't recover enough, and then you don't sleep well, then you don't recover enough, and it can become a whole cycle that sends you down deep into a dark abyss of sadness and poor performance. Beyond that, evening is going to be psychologically harder for most of us because we're drained, right? We already did all of our things for the day. We went to work, we did those extra projects, we picked up the kids from school, we prepared meals, we got all these things out, we did all this stress, and then now we've got to train. Now, there may be a few of you in particular may be watching this video, and it's your time to de-stress, and that run is perfect for you. That is fine. I'm not judging. I'm simply saying, for most people, I think it's going to be very difficult. But you do want to not go too late in the evening, in part because when we work out, our body temperature rises. And we know an elevated body temperature makes it harder to sleep. So that is the biggest thing I want to say about the evening into night kind of runs that make it tough to make it a normal part of your routine. Now, I am guilty of going on night runs. There have even been times when I could not sleep very well, so I went for a run, and we're talking like midnight, 1 a.m. There was a period in my life where I simply wasn't sleeping well altogether. Actually, 2 periods of my life. One was in college when I was overworked, overstressed. Remember that deep, dark hole of abyss I just spoke about? Yeah, I was there. And then a post-college time when I don't think I was eating enough was the case that time. Again, lots of stress, couldn't sleep. So, I remember a couple times, not often, but maybe once or twice a month, I would end up in the middle of the night going to work out. I remember a time I went to the gym and did my pool session at like 1 a.m. It was ridiculous. They shouldn't have even been open, but they were. One of those 24-hour fitness places. In any case, it didn't help me sleep. I eventually got back to sleep when I got back home, but again, I was hot. Now I was even more exhausted. I hadn't eaten anything. And it's this terrible place where at the time I believed it was better than doing nothing, but it was really not a great option overall. So if you could optimally pick a time of day to go run, it's going to be that afternoon, lunch to early evening kind of time slot. But psychologically, it's going to be tougher the later in the day it goes for most of us. So if you are one of those early morning runners, make sure you've got a very good warm-up routine set so that you can actually get your body up and moving for the day instead of being hindered by where our body is at that time of day, which is not optimal physically. Do you have any questions for me that you'd like answered in another video? Hit subscribe so you can stick around, see that video come out on the channel, and leave your questions, your comments down below in the comments section so I can make a video just for you. I'll see you next time on the next episode of Runner's High.